Let's make a cute turkey table runner perfect for Thanksgiving. For my turkey, I freehanded a body shape as well as a feather, and then I got some brown fabric for the body as well as different colors for what I wanted the feathers and everything to look like. So here's it all cut out. You can see the brown is the body, and then I have 9 different feather pieces. I have 2 pieces for the beak, and then I did cut out a few pieces for the wattle for the turkey that will be going underneath the beak. So first what I'm going to do is sort of lay everything out for you to see what I'm kind of envisioning this to look like. I think it's going to be really fun though. So here is our general shape. I have all the feathers going around it, then you have the body and then the beak and the wattle. So in total, like I said, there were 9 different pieces for the feathers. The first step though is to work on the beak. So I'm just going to be pinning up 2 of the 3 sides, and I'm going to be sewing across, and then I'll leave a little opening so I'll be able to turn this right side out. Next, I started working on the feathers, pinning those up. So with right sides together, I'm just going to pin one edge of the feathers and then continue this all the way around. I did do this kind of like 3 feathers at a time, and then in the middle, I'm leaving that one completely open, and I will kind of piece the 4 and 4 together to get that like 9th feather directly in the center. But this is the way that I'm just going to be going around, taking a straight stitch for each feather individually. Then it came time to the body. So I'm doing all of these kind of in synchronous with each other. So for the body, I just started to pin all of it up with right sides together so that I could take the seam. So here are my feathers that they are now ready to be sewn as well. So I'm just carefully going to do each one, sew it up with a straight stitch. Repeat this for that other side, which is also 4 feathers. So just taking the straight stitch all the way for each of those pieces of feathers. And then once that's done, I will be taking that middle feather, and that will be going between the 2 to kind of tie both these pieces together, but to make sure it looks very synchronous and in the middle. Then I started to sew up the beak as well as each of those feather components, and then finally sewing up the body. So here are all those pieces that I just sewed up. We have the beak as well as the body and then all those feathers. So now it is time to go through, trim everything up. So trimming off a lot of these little threads as well as any extra fabric, as well as clipping the curve. So especially on the body, since we are going to be turning this right side out, we want to make sure it lays nice and flat. So just trimming off that extra fabric to make sure that it will lay flat. And then doing the exact same thing with the feathers, trimming off any extra strings that are there. If there's a large section of fabric that we don't need, trimming that as well. And then for the body, I did turn this right side out so that it would be much easier to look at. And then we can actually start to press all of this together so that it will lay nice and flat, and we'll be able to combine it into that final turkey table piece that is going to look so nice. For the beak, as you can see, I needed to make sure it was very pointy, so I did use a pin to try to really get that point so that it would have that nice beak shape. Once I did all of that though, it was just time to start pressing away. So I used my little iron. Since this was just cotton, it was very easy to press through, and made sure that it all laid nice and flat. So here, what those feathers look like, I absolutely love how it turned out. It looks really pretty, and now it's time to join both sides of those feathers together with this middle piece of the feather. And all I'm doing is very similar to before, pinning up with right sides together the side, and then I will take a seam and then repeat this for the second side, so that we'll be able to make this one continuous piece of like those 9 feathers together. That will be the main body shape of our turkey. So here is the completed feather portion, and it is now time to press it all out and make sure it is nice and smooth so that now we can add the body onto it. So this is kind of what you get. It has a nice fan effect, so very similar to how you would think feathers would look. And as you can see at the bottom, it is a little bit long, doesn't fit the body quite exact. It's very easy to fix this though. All you're gonna do is sort of bend your lowest feathers up a little bit so that it will match the body of the turkey. This pattern was very forgiving, so if something doesn't quite match up right, it's all okay. So as you can see here, I've just folded in that feather on either side and then moved the feathers up slightly so that it would fit, and then I pinned those in place. Now what's time to do is we will be top stitching the body onto the feathers itself. So I just pinned this all the way around so that it wouldn't move when I went to take the seam. And I'm just using brown thread to top stitch this body onto the feathers so that it can be one complete piece. So here is what our front piece of the table covering looks like. You have the body of your turkey now in the feathers. There are some strings, so you can just cut those off, but the top stitching looks really nice, and it really helps also the body kind of stand out against those feathers. So what we have to do now though is worry about what the back's going to be. So I just used a plain cream that I had that to kind of match the beak, but you could use any fabric you want, and you're just gonna cut out a back piecing for this of the same shape as the front. Once you do that, you can start to move on to the next little decorations of the turkey. So what I'm going to work on is the little wattles. So with right sides together, since I cut out 2 pieces for each of those, I went ahead and just pinned them up, and I will be taking a small seam all the way around, leaving that small opening just so that I can turn it. And then once I'm able to turn it, so here you go, you can see there that little hole. You're going to want to trim those little threads and also make sure that you clip the curves. But once you have it turned, what we're going to be able to do is start putting all of this actually together onto our turkey. So like here's the beak. What I'm going to do is sew that on. So I'm just going to top stitch the front of it on, and then I trimmed some of those threads so it looks much neater. And then I'm going to pin the little wattles in place. So I'm not actually like top stitching those or closing those off. I'm just pinning them in place right underneath the beak. And that's how I'm going to close that little hole off, is by sewing them onto the body shape itself. So here is what it looks like so far. I'm just going to trim off some of these threads, and then you can see we now have a beak and a cute little wattle to make it look even more turkey. So now I have that back piece that I originally cut out, and I'm going to pin with right sides together the back onto the front, and I will leave it opening so that what I'm going to do is sew all the way around this, being sure to be careful of the corners. And then when I sew this, I'll be able to turn this right side out, and all of these seams are going to be hidden, so we're not going to have to worry about it having any raw edges. So now that seam's complete, I can now just go through, trim some of this extra fabric off, as well as clip the curves to make sure that when I turn this right side out, it will lay nice and flat, and I won't have to worry about any of the fabric buckling or looking bulky. So to turn it inside out, all I did was found where that opening was, pushed the fabric through, and then I was able to get the turkey to come out. It looked so cute. So what I need to do now was really press all of this so that a lot of this will lay flatter when it is pressed. And then after I'm done pressing it, I'll be able to go through and top stitch. And with that top stitch, that's how we're going to close both the bottom hole that we had, that opening that we used to turn it right side out, as well as just help to ensure that this all lays nice and flat, and it will give it a much more professional look. So here's what our turkey looks like so far. It is almost done. We just have one last step of trimming off these extra little threads, and then it's complete. I can't wait to use it. So this was very simple. All I had to do was trim it up. And then here we go. Here is the final turkey product. I think it looks so cute. It's going to be so fun for Thanksgiving. It was really simple and easy to make. Again, I just kind of freehanded this pattern, so you could definitely do the same. If you like this video, want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe.